Hi friends, welcome back. I am DJ Montague. Today we are going to be going over a patch that is hitting on the 14th through the 21st. We are getting a 24/7 full week of SUPERVIVE servers on all the time for North America, for Europe, and for Asia. It's going to be pretty incredible, and it's the first time that we will have a complete overnight play. And you'll just be able to play on your own server. You won't have to play on Europe to play for 8 hours there and then play for North America for 8 hours there. It's pretty insane. So they've also hinted at that the complete servers on all the time is a lot closer than we think. So Steam Next Fest is going to be insane. If you haven't had a chance, go wish list SUPERVIVE on Steam right now so you can get in. Make sure you can play the full week. Let's get into the patch. So these patch notes are actually quite long, so I'm going to do my best to try and skim over them and give you guys some quick information rather than reading through all of this and trying to figure out what's going on. They've equalized a little more time to kill. So it's shorter than the veteran test, but probably longer than the August test, which is probably the last test that you've played. The veteran test was pretty tanky, and they've fixed some stuff from that. Let's see. Fixed audio. So hear stuff from further away. During the veteran test, we had some issues. I shouldn't say issues. During the veteran test, we had a sonar that we were testing, and it was pretty insane how much it slowed the game down. I thought it was good for the health of the game where you made more informed decisions, but I'm also playing at a very high level, so it might not be actually good for the player base to have sonar like that, but I did quite enjoy it because there are limited ways that you can get information on enemy teams. Power shards, this is just kind of an extra thing for late game teams that are dominating super hard to become a little bit stronger, like 5% stronger, because there was like a cap at how strong you could possibly be. So every unused power shard grants you, or that you hold on to grants you AP. Also, if you're grabbing power shards during a fight and you're not using them, or you don't have the hands to use them quickly, like in between skills or something like that, at least you get some sort of boost. But still, you should absolutely give them to your teammates and not just hoard power shards. Cremation, they fixed a bug. They also made it so reviving a cremated target isn't a mess. So it's a lot easier. You won't lose progress as fast if you're reviving for a cremated target and you have to step off. Gold keys can now open vaults. This is insane because they've also added better mid-grade powers, or not better mid-grade powers, but more mid-grade powers in vaults and less rare powers, and giving gold keys an extra option towards the mid and late game is just fantastic. All about that, because like you get a gold key early, either you go get armor or you go get a vault, and then you start moving. Vaults are going to be highly contested, so I think this is really good. Hunter mastery emotes, this is cool. Think League of Legends and being able to show your mastery of a character. Each character has different stipulations. Dunks for Kingpin and like Brawl, RMB kills and executes. So there's that. Visual update. This new visual, they've moved a lot of the stuff away from the center and moved it to the sides of the screen so that you can see people coming from above and below you a lot easier. Normally the skill bar was right at the bottom in the middle of your screen. Now they've changed it to the left. I think they could do away with the weapon thing right there because I don't think that really matters. But your passive is over here, your skills are over here, and your powers are right next to it. Makes it a little bit easier. Visual updates on monsters, stuff like that. Voiceover and localization. This is insane. Like 16 characters now all have voices. It's going to sound a lot more like a real game. Soon we'll probably have music for the actual map, and it'll feel so much more complete. Probably a lot less placeholder stuff. Like the game is It's almost there. So here we are. Changing the emote for "Do you think I'm boosted?" to AO. This is a weird thing. I don't truly understand this, but not a big deal. I think this is currency has been lowered by, it's not like 1,000 anymore. It's in hundreds. So that's much better. So you're not like looking at 50,000 currency means, $5 or whatever arbitrary thing that is. Just lower the amounts so it doesn't get bloated. Map visuals, upgrades across the board. This thing in the background is a video of Jess Safe Locked explaining a lot of the high level changes, and like this area looks gorgeous. These biomes look insane. So they're doing an insane job. It's all really awesome. Really stoked for it. So kind of see it in the background there. Anyways, Academy. They've nerfed Academy. That was pretty insane. People were able to get like level 8, or you'd have like 3 people at level 6 and 1 person at level 5. It's pretty nuts. So they nerfed Blue Books by quite a bit, and Red Book is unchanged. Red Book is really strong. That's the biggest thing you want to get there. Vaults, drop rarity adjusted. Common powers are less rare, or less prevalent. Uncommon powers are more prevalent, and rare powers are less prevalent. I think this is an okay change. I wish they had changed rare powers to be a little bit more too. So, anyways, now realistically, common powers are uncommon and uncommon powers are common. 75%. Anyways, stupid. They've made it so equipment has changed quite a bit. You pick up scrap instead of picking up items off the ground. There will still be some items that drop, but they will be like completed blue items where like a mind blade or something like that, or greed, something of that nature. There are now technically 3 tiers of items separately to there being like white, blue, or white, green, blue, purple, legendary, and then red items or whatever. There's more to it now. There's more agency. At the beginning of the game, you are allowed to choose if you want full damage, which is 2 damage items, or hybrid, 1 damage item, 1 tank item, or 2 tank items. So you have a choice at the beginning, and then you pick up scrap, and then when you get to green tier on this white baseline item, you will get to choose between either the tank items or the weapon item. So this is really, really cool to give you more than just stat stick stuff, and they talk about that as well. Individual changes. These boots, these wisp kicks are cool because you actually get to kick wisps around, and only a few characters were able to do so. And I think this is like pretty huge. I think this would be good, especially when you're over like near an abyss and you just want to insta kill somebody and you just kick their wisp into the abyss. Awesome. Alchemist was pretty broken anyway, so they got rid of that. I won't even kind of bring it up. A lot of these that are getting replaced, I won't talk about them. So, all helmets give 5 less health. 5% less health because tank items were pretty busted. Oath was pretty busted during the veteran test, and a lot of the tournament play that we were doing in high level custom lobbies. Every team was running Oath, and if you weren't running Oath, usually you get run over. So, persistence replaces equalizer. Equalizer wasn't that great anyway. While in combat, dealing and taking damage, build up 3 stacks. At 3 stacks, your next left mouse button against an enemy hunter will heal you for 3% of your max HP and grant permanent max health, scaling with your toughness. Toughness being better on characters like Oath, Kingpin, and worse on characters like Stalker, aka Jin is his new name. Gunner has high toughness, people like that. So, Gigantism, they nerfed it because the HP scaling was pretty insane, and you'd have tanks with like 200 AP and going full tank and able to just beat the absolute brakes off of people. So they nerfed that quite a bit. Bubble Blade fixed a bug that caused repeated shield instances on spells that took several instances of healing, notably Aluna's Moonlight Blessing Q. So Bubble Blade gives you a shield based on the amount of healing you just took from the person that has Bubble Blade. It's good on Zeph. Not super great, as we knew now, on Oath and on Aluna. This might change that. So Mind Blade, max mana to AP conversion is lowered by quite a bit. Mind Blade was like the most amount of AP you could possibly get in a really weird way. By getting Mind Blade and Mana Helm, you would end up with like a nuts amount of mana and then also a nuts amount of AP. So hybrid builds would absolutely shit stomp people. Rampage is from Mana Blade. Rampage AP per stack. This is like if you hit somebody, you would get AP based on the skill you hit them with, and it would increase. And I think it does fall off. New doubles granted AP bonus at max stack. This means it will give you less AP than before until it reaches max stacks, at which point it will give you the same value as before. Stack fall off time lowered from 5 seconds to 3 seconds. Yeah. So if you are fighting somebody and you have Rampage, you stack up AP over time, and then at max you go crazy. This is good for somebody like a Brawl that has a lot of skills to do. Maybe somebody like Storm has a lot of skills to do in a short amount of time and can snowball a fight pretty hard. But that's about it. Mana Helm upgrades, less health. Ambush, which is pretty cool. Baseline Armor Shred. You get 50% extra Armor Shred, and then Armor Shred in Bush. This was pretty insane in the veteran test, obviously 200 and 400%. You basically had free radioactive for Ambush. It was nuts. 200% is fine. Glacial Comet, lob time and damage lowered. This is important because the lob time was really long and the damage was decently high. So it only really worked on stun characters. So like Kingpin could do okay with Glacial Comet because you would stun them and then you would get a slow as well. So new Scholar replacing Intensity. Every minute gain additional toughness, HP, and mana, max 10 stacks. Cool. Rewards you for lasting longer. Quick blade upgrades. Gun knife was weird and not a lot of people really used it. Big Game Hunter seems pretty cool. Gain movement speed stacks for killing major creeps. Mini bosses and bosses included. At 5 stacks, transforms into Zenith Blade, which grants AP based on 25% of your movement speed. Somebody like a Jin, aka Stalker, with this and potentially like Bladed Helmet with Greed and getting a ton of movement speed, like pretty crazy. Do a lot of damage and have move speed and have some tankiness with Bladed Helmet. Tech Blade upgrades, Interweaver, Secret Missile lowered from nuts amount of damage, 70 damage plus 10% AP to 10 damage and 8% AP. Secret Missiles used to blast people, so no longer reduces ability cooldowns by 0.5 seconds per missile. That was pretty crazy. Power User replaces Thunderbolt. Thunderbolt again wasn't used. Gain 15% stacking power haste for opening vaults, max stack 2. At 2 stacks, transform into Power Master. Your powers become soulbound. This is, I think, going to be used by quite a few characters. Techblade didn't really have many good upgrades. I think this is really, really sick. Like, powers becoming soulbound for high level matches is pretty insane. And power haste. There hasn't been anything that has power haste. Obviously, ability haste is different, lowering your ability cooldown, but nothing has ever had power haste. This is gonna be a really interesting item. Amplifier replaces Rampager. Abilities refresh 5% faster. This stacks up to 10 times until you cast another ability. I assume this stacks every 1 second, so you would get a 50% reduced cooldown on the next skill you use, basically, at max. And then in a team fight, when you're using a lot of skills, or if you're like, I guess somebody like Shrike would use this and potentially like have a really low cooldown on either like an ult. This might be really insane for Shrike. So that could be really used well on her or her shift. Her shift is nuts now anyways. Tech Helmet, again, reduced health. Soulbound, the Tech Helmet upgrade, damage no longer causes you to be spiked. Wait, soulbound damage no longer causes you to be spiked. Oh. You took damage over time or something like that, and sometimes you would just get spiked because it would do actual like dot damage numbers. Vive Infuser, heal on dash converted to from a full instant burst heal to 50% burst, 50% heal over time, and it's removed on damage. Now has an internal cooldown of 5 seconds. We were building this on Brawl, this tech helmet, and so your dash would heal you 3 times for 250. It was pretty crazy. Vamp Blade upgrades, new Soul Drain replaces Executioner. Stomping or executing a Wisp heals you. Probably not going to be used. Swift Blade, bonus damage at full charge, lowered. Swift Blade was really strong. Overdrive now has 3% Omni Vamp, and Overheals generate shield equal to 100% of the Overheal. Pretty insane. Overdrive's going to be nuts. For Shiv. I'm not going to go over all these powers. I just can't. There's no way. Because there's like new exotics that I haven't even touched. They've changed the name of the kaiju items. Like all this stuff is crazy. Look at how many powers there are. Yeah, I can't go over that. Hunter changes. Okay, this is good. They say 2 goals here. Eternal fight for perfect hunter balance, which is actually impossible because the metagame changes dramatically day to day and the average player skill level is constantly shifting. So please stop complaining. We're trying our best. Nobody's going to stop complaining because people don't realize that balancing a game is hard. Anyways, the second goal is continue to update hunter ability level upgrades. We heard your feedback that you want ability upgrades that aren't just stat upgrades and small number changes, so we're working on it. Yeah, like certain characters would get, they were like best in slot, must take. And it wasn't really playstyle oriented. So it's really hard to balance those like level 3 upgrades when you have stuff like Brawl's shift now has a minus 3.5 second cooldown at level 3. And so it goes from like being, I think, a 10-second cooldown to being a 7 or 6.5 second cooldown on your shift. You had 3 stacks of it. Like Brawl was just everywhere. And good brawls that understand mana management were impossible. So yeah, fixing that stuff is good. Anyways, Bishop, nerfing Tank Bishop, she was crazy. Oh my god. Tank Bishop was nuts. Toughness lowered, good. This is the HP scaling, by the way. What's toughness is. A left mouse button, displacement charge, Haymaker Q, blast off R. That's what they're explaining those are. Displacement charge is the right mouse button. The new level 3 upgrade now resets her Q cooldown if you punch a satchel. So yeah, very, very good. And putting her still in poke champion territory while being able to have hard engages with upgrading right mouse button. I think it's good. I think it's a good choice. And I think it's gonna be really, really strong. Because if you do this, you throw a satchel, you see that you get a good hit, and then you ult, and then you have your Q reset anyway. Like nuts. Nuts. Anyways. So Brawl, left mouse damage, left mouse button damage reduced by 5%, and empowered state damage reduced by 5%. This is interesting. Obviously, empowered was really strong, but it takes a bit to get into it. Right mouse button damage increased by 10%. This is good. Move damage away from just mashing left click at people and force people to actually hit their stuff. Shift, no level 3 upgrade. Dash leaves a clone behind. If the clone is hit by a projectile, Brawl gains stacks of Blazing Spirit, his passive, which is great. Great, actually. I think this is really strong depending on how much you get from the passive. Fixed the tether. When you're moving very fast yourself and you throw the tether out, it's now less fast at full speed. Fixed a bug where level 3 upgrades were not working. Level 3 upgrade being, I think it was hit somebody with the actual chain and it's reduced by 50%, something like that. Lower toughness on a Luna. You're going to see a lot of people get less tanky now. Crescent Bolt, LMB. The base damage increase per stack is nuts. The max stacks is sick. And the movement speed penalty when firing Crescent Bolts being reduced. Like, Aluna was in a really rough spot because she was supposed to be the like I guess damage dealer support, and she was having a tough time doing it. So yeah. Felix, it was crazy during the veteran test. In my opinion, he was incredibly frustrating to play against. That boy was thick. He had shields, and he just did nuts damage. And everybody was going greed during that time, so he'd have like vamp, and it was like really hard to get anti heal. So, anyways, his passive once again reduces the cooldown of his level 3 ability by 20% when Felix applies or upgrades Ignite. Okay, I mean, cool. That still makes sense, but they increased the cooldown of his heat shield. Thank God. I still think he's gonna be really strong, but I think needs to be. He's like the Garen of this game. I feel like where he's an easy entry level character, and he's really hard to balance because of that. Ghost, this days duration on directly stuck enemies being increased by 0.2 seconds is pretty big because of how Ghost's kit work. You before this point, like hitting somebody with the grenade was actually bad because you missed damage uptime on hitting them with the grenade. So days slow now increased, pretty good. Now respects line of sight. Cool. I don't really know how that. I would imagine it means like if you shot it in a direction and you couldn't see somebody, it'll stick to them, or it'll go through them because you can't see them, or something like that. I don't know. I have to really test that. Combat slide was busted. Like you were able to tap dash and just like fly and float everywhere. Ghost was like impossible to catch up to for a while. Railgun beam damage increased and yaw dampening lowered, meaning you can move the beam around before you cast it more. Better napalm to see yours and enemies. Gunner, formerly now known as Hudson, mini rework, regenerates 1% of his armor out of combat. No longer has a heat mechanic, just has more of a like TF2 heavy style play where he spins up with his right mouse button and like spools back down. The more his gun is spinning, the slower he moves. And at 90% spin rate, your shots become empowered and deal 10% bonus damage and heal you for 0.3% of max health every time they hit an enemy. You are shooting like a lot, so you can heal for 10 to 15% health very fast. And just having that as a passive is pretty crazy. Jets has 2 charges, so now he can actually move around, and he's not just a sitting duck as like 6 people dive bomb him and beat the absolute brakes off of him. Recharges 13 seconds, 10 seconds level 2. Really, really strong for him. When colliding with an enemy during hover, you now deal low damage to them and knock them back. Damage and knockback scales with your momentum. I think Gunner's gonna be pretty strong. Watch out for Luke, ladies and gentlemen. Hook, salvaging an enemy this way drops scrap engine to pick up for allies, which restores 25% health and armor. Pretty crazy that he can pretty much tee off in fights, especially with his ult, and help a lot of people. Jin, formerly Stalker. Oh no, he's hot now. I don't know how much they changed him or if he moves. I don't know. They didn't have like a visual update all that well on his for the veteran test, and I played him during the vet test a little bit. So Ashgara Warblade LMB, that's changed now. I think it was just called Stab before. No longer applies marks on enemies. RMB does that. Reduce armor shred by 1, and added wind down to the attack. So you can't use your first and second attacks to just completely piece out of fights really, really easily, unless you know how to bunny hop correctly. RMB visual update, max range damage decreased. Okay. Clone now aims at cursor, much better. Yeah, because like now the clone does 100% of your damage, and the clone can go pretty crazy too. So you could do like throw clone, do your E, knock up, swap to clone, and then you're in the air and do the full damage, right? Or you could just do it with the clone as opposed to swapping. So Q warm-up visuals have been updated on Jewel to be louder and more noticeable. Thank you, please, because she's really hard to see in certain fights and she can absolutely take a fight over. Does explosive damage, so her RMB, I would assume, does AoE. Kingpin now has a new level 3, and the higher you are, the harder his slam hits. At normal jump height, jump into dash into primal slam will give 30% bonus damage with this upgrade. So to give you an idea of how high you need to be to get the 75% bonus damage, I saw Tom Kick actually like one-shot somebody, nearly. He like frog jump and slammed on them, and then he shot them and they died. So it was pretty nuts. Some changes aimed at raising Myth's skill floor because her R&B was pretty nuts with the knockback and the stun and all that stuff. She was crazy for a minute. But they gave her more mobility. Health per level is lower, base health lower. Adjust timing for green shots to make more sense. Fixed a bug where perfect timing green shots were not going the full distance shown on the laser. Knock them out. Her R&B knockback is weighted much more towards charge time rather than distance. Thank God, because if you got on her, she would just shoot you away so goddamn far for no reason. Just because like you tap right mouse button. So quick fire knocks back much less and much more at full charge up. Minimum charge time is up by 0.05 seconds. No big deal. Can no longer hold indefinitely. You have to fire after 1.9 seconds. And the level 3 upgrade now gains a charge of phase walk shift whenever you successfully wall stun with Heart Piercer with your right mouse button. That's kind of cool. Rain of Arrows, they made more sense of the width up close. Oath was busted, so they reduced his toughness from 7 to 6. Your LMB hold now charges twice as fast all the time than what it was before. Really, really big. Nobody really used that unless you were going for a really short stun, or like you stun somebody against a wall and then you were trying to get like a half charge LMB. So now that being twice as fast, you might get a full charge LMB after you shield stun someone against a wall and then hold LMB and slam them again. So you could do like some pretty big stun combos with him. Damage ratios have been adjusted from 50% of base, 50% ratios to 32 or 33% base damage and 60% ratios. Okay, so now, yeah, he's going to do less damage by that. Because if he builds AP, that's the ratios, I imagine. Spin dash shift level 3 upgrade was now charges hammer twice as fast before. Now it's hitting an enemy with spin dash resets the shield bash cooldown, which is great. It'd be like shield bash shift onto somebody, shield bash them again, and just like shoot them away, right? Shiv, they made it so her stacks last longer if you are shooting the same target, and they do a little bit less damage across the board. But like her base damage shots do less damage, but damage per master assassin stack increased. So they're saying arc pistols does less damage at 0 to 2 stacks and more damage at 3 stacks. So the more you shoot the same target, the more you get like spun up and just absolutely shitting on people. Chain Bola's new level 3 now applies 2 stacks of master assassin. The target hit pretty okay. I don't imagine people will be taking this. I imagine they would be taking shift level 3, but I'm not sure. I don't play Shiv. Base cooldown reduced by 0.5 seconds. Speed buff after using quick flip is increased by 4%. Pretty good. Movement speed bonus gets removed if you take damage though. Far step dagger now always applies a 50% slow to enemies, and the new level 3 upgrade applies 2 stacks of master assassin. I think this will get changed, but for right now it's just something that needed to happen. And damage decrease on R. Shrike can hold LMB to continuously fire her rifle. Disengage shift. Getting a knock always resets disengage, which it didn't before. I think that was a level 3 upgrade, which is pretty insane to just be baseline. So now Shrike seems like she's going to be pretty strong. Level 3 upgrades causes the projectile to mark targets with her passive. I think that might be way nuts in mid-tier games, and like Shrike getting a kill, getting a reset, and then like knocking somebody away and herself away, and then shooting them and getting the passive shot. Yeah, she's gonna be shooting people for 1200 a lot. Dive bomb, her either was her stun. Right, yeah, it was her stun. New level 3 lowers ability to cool down by 2 seconds and increases cremate burn rate of wisp that it hits. No longer grants a second charge at level 3. That shit was nuts. Scout Hawk, new level 3 upgrade, increases vision radius by 50% and duration increased to 40 seconds. This is gonna be really good for really good Shrikes in high tier games because vision is so hard to come by that they'll be able to make a lot of more informed decisions and hide the Hawk over terrain so you can't just go kill it with F. Full bore, projectile size increased but damage is reduced. This is good. This is good for her health. It was really hard to hit your ult, and I think it was pretty bad. Zeph was nuts. Thank God they lowered his healing by 20%. You also don't get a 4th charge, lowering it by another 25% basically. And then level 3 upgrade change now grants movement speed. So yeah, so a lot of what's going on is normalizing these characters that were taking over the game. What I was going to do was watch a full video, but we are at 32 minutes into this video on this patch review. And holy shit, I didn't mean to go this long and talk this long, but I appreciate you guys sticking around for it. They changed some tree stuff, so now when you have tree movement boots, you can look like you're in a bush. Stuff like that. Thank you guys so much for hanging out with me today. Make sure you like, comment, subscribe. Come follow me on Twitch, twitch.tv/DJ Montague. Also, I'm sponsored by Gamer Subs. If you want to pick up some Gamer Subs and use my code DJ Montague at checkout, get 10% off. I appreciate you. I'll see you soon, and I'll see you on the 14th. And we'll be making tier list videos. We'll be making videos with Tom Kick and like Chip and all these people. We're gonna try and do a bunch of stuff. But I appreciate you. I'll see you soon.